Alright, boys, sharpen your pencils, because I'm going to take you to school again.
Welcome everyone, I'm Jordan Sharp. It's that time again to start taking a look at the NBA here this offseason, and after the free agency period has died down, we're going to have a pretty good idea of what the NBA landscape is going to look like here this offseason, or this next season, And it's time to take a look at one of the teams that of course came in and just behind the Miami Heat last year, and that was the San Antonio Spurs, who ended up losing the NBA Finals, of course, to Miami in 7 games. Now, of course, they were really just a few seconds away from winning that title in Game 6, as they notably, as the history will write for this finals, the trophy was on the floor and the ropes had been put out, but Ray Allen, of course, hit that big shot in Game 6, and the rest is history in that Game 7. But the San Antonio Spurs had an excellent season, were very undervalued throughout the year, as they were 4th in the league in scoring and ended up 11th, just out of the top 10 in opponents' points per game, with just under 97 points per game given up. And they were 53, 48, and 2 against the spread on the season. But really the main reason for that was their playoff ATS record of 14 and 7, which was outstanding. They were a great bet throughout the playoffs here, as some of you may know. Now, the transactions they've had to make this summer have been big decisions. However, I think they've done a very good job of bringing back the key parts of that roster from that title run and adding to them just a little bit with what little resources they had left. The main thing they had to do was lock up Tiago Splitter, which they did, signed him to a very reasonable contract, about $8 or $9 million a year, which is good for a starting center in this NBA with his upside, both offensively and defensively, one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. It goes very well unheralded. And of course, they signed Manu Ginobili, re-signed him to a much more reasonable contract for his skill set. However, if he can continue upon what he did throughout the postseason until the NBA Finals, I think that the San Antonio Spurs are in very good hands here as they re-signed him. Also adding some depth, a guy like Manu Ginobili, we'll call him Mini Manu, will be as they signed Marco Bellinelli, a guy that's going to come off the bench and provide a similar skill set out of the 2 or 3 position, as well as a guy that can handle the ball. So the Spurs adding to that roster, bringing back what they needed to, but they come in the future odds still pretty undervalued for a team that just came away from a finals trip at plus 1,200, 12 to 1 to win the NBA title. They're behind the Brooklyn Nets, the Chicago Bulls, and of course the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Miami Heat. So 5th right behind them. I think that maybe slightly undervaluing them. I would probably have them down to about 10 to 1 where the Bulls and the Nets are, maybe even raise the Nets up if we had to. But right now, I think the San Antonio Spurs, if they can prove that they can stay healthy throughout the season, I think that these are pretty good odds and are worth another flyer bet. As we saw, it almost paid off last season, and they were even a higher underdog to the NBA Finals at this time last season. So take a look at the Spurs, and take a look at all the other 29 team reports here in the NBA here this offseason. But until then, thanks for joining me this time. I'm Jordan Sharp.